8 bows, all under $200. Which bow is best for you? The number one question I get is, what bow should I buy? And thank you for all the support. By purchasing our archery products, this allows me to buy these bows having no affiliation with these companies so that I can give you honest reviews. Specs, speed, smoothness, snagability, and sacrifice is the scale we are testing these bows to. Each person is different and each bow is different, meaning I don't know exactly what bow you will need, but my goal is to give you enough information so that you can make an educated choice on the next bow to buy. So let's get right into it. We are now gonna test the specs of this bow. Now I've had a bow that's been like up to 10 pounds off on draw weight. Now this one feels about right. It's supposed to be 40 pounds. The bow is 56 inches long, but we'll put it on the tillering tree back here and we'll measure to see if it's exactly right. If you're ever measuring for the poundage, it goes from the deepest part of the handle to the string, and that's how you measure the poundage. So I'm gonna pull that at 28 inches. Now, when I set that down in my tillering tree, the deepest part of the handle doesn't hit. So I need to put a board here and measure that distance, which looks about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And then instead of drawing it to my 28 inch mark, I'll probably have to draw it to 27.5 inches to get the exact reading. Keep that in mind, because on some bows, there's really deep handles, and if you put it on a tillering tree, it's not gonna be accurate. Okay, so we need to draw this 27.5 inches. I'm gonna use a little tape mark here so that you can see it really well. Go to the top of that tape mark. I'll bring you in close. Okay, so we're gonna draw the hook to here and the scale will be down here, and it should let us know our poundage right at 28 inch draw. We're looking for 40 pounds to be perfectly accurate. Right there. Looks like 43.5. 43.5 pounds was what it's at. So it appears that we're 3.5 pounds off on the draw weight. So far this riser has felt really heavy to me. So I want to test the weight of it. It says it's aluminum, so I was going to check it here with a magnet. And yes, indeed, everything's aluminum except the bolts. So if you ever want to check if something's aluminum, you can just use a magnet, and we've got an aluminum riser. The riser is too heavy for the arrow scale, so we're gonna move on to the kitchen scale. All right, so let's use a block of wood so the edges don't hit the table. Let's go ahead and zero that out. Okay, we should be good to go to place the riser. 718 grams. Now this says about 600 grams. I do have the hardware in, so maybe they're saying without the hardware, it's approximately 600. So I can't necessarily say they're wrong on that, but what I can say is that's a pretty heavy riser. Okay, so I think I need to correct myself real quick. This is the Black Hunter Recurve bow riser that's only 15 inches long. We've got a 583 gram riser. So in me thinking that this aluminum riser is gonna be much heavier than wood ones, I'm actually wrong. I'm not sure why it felt so heavy to me when I was shooting it or why it feels so heavy. I think maybe just because it's colder and it's aluminum, not sure, but I really wanted to correct myself there in that it's actually pretty comparable to wood risers. Let's continue to see if what they say online matches up to what this bow actually is. Right now they're advertising that they're selling it at cost and making no profit because they want to get the word out. True or not, I have no clue, but it is important to keep in mind that I'm giving you the information at the time of this video, and you could go check the price of this bow and it'd be $20 more expensive. That's happened before. The bow limbs are advertised as a maple core with fiberglass on the belly and the back of the bow, and this appears to be true. Also, we've got fiberglass tip overlays, which is a good thing. You can use Fastlight D97 or B55 strings on this, or any hybrid string, so basically any string will be fine with this bow. Now, metal risers can be some of the smoothest shooting bows out there. This bow doesn't fit that group, and I'll get to that in a bit. But something, whenever you get a metal riser, or an aluminum riser I should say, that you want to pay attention to is how the limb connects to the riser. If it's not a good snug fit, if there's not felt, if they haven't put in some thought into how it's going to connect, lots of times there can be extra noise and extra rattling with that metal riser when you shoot. Wood to wood seems to not make as much noise as wood to metal. And sometimes you can have a wood riser with little metal brackets that the limbs can go into, and that just can make extra noise. So you just want to keep your eye out for that, and something I'm actually not a big fan of. As I put this limb back on, something else they did here is they gave you a little plastic arrow rest. I'm not against arrow rests at all. I prefer, if I'm gonna have an arrow rest, the little metal ones. They tend to work much better. The reason I don't like a plastic arrow rest is because the plastic wears down over time. So you're talking 1,000 shots in and you're gonna need to replace it for sure, maybe even 500 shots. But I see their thought process here with the arrow rest being able to screw in and out so that you can tune your bow with moving where the arrow rest is. That actually is a pretty nice thing. That's kind of cool because it gives you more flexibility when buying arrows to not have to have so many different arrows to tune. It gives you a more wide range of tuning almost any arrow to this bow. I do like that concept, but this arrow rest is not my favorite. It sounds like a dying whale or something when you draw back the bow. Okay, let's talk about this bowstring for a minute. So the standard is a D97 bowstring, and you're going to get an endless loop bowstring pretty much no matter what with any bow you get. And that's exactly what this is. Now sometimes they make one loop bigger than the other so that you know, hey, this bigger loop goes on the top limb, the smaller loop goes on the bottom limb. All right, and all you gotta do is pull up and put the string on. Okay, so now that we've got the bowstring on, the first thing I noticed is the serving section, and you can see I've already used this bow. I give this review after I've been using the bow for a while, so I've already shot many shots through this. And then the serving section is in the wrong location, and this is a pet peeve of mine. And it's difficult, right? If you're a bowstring maker, like we are, you have to figure out how can I make a serving section fit for every bowstring. And I don't only want the serving to fit where it knocks, I also want the serving to be where my fingers are going to be placed under it. And if you're a string walker, it needs to go further down. And then even on top of that, what if there is some string slap and it slaps your arm, or hopefully your arm guard? And if it slaps your arm guard, you want that to be where the serving is so it doesn't wear down your bowstring. It's functional and it's fine, but the bowstring serving goes way higher than it's needed, and it doesn't go down far enough lower. And it's only 5-inch serving section, and that's the main reason we do a 10-inch serving section when we make our custom bowstrings, so that depending on the bow layout, it's going to fit that area no matter what. So that's just a personal preference thing and a longevity thing of the bowstring. So if you get this bowstring, I almost say you need to reserve it immediately, or at least serve further down so that you've got protection in the spot that you need protection the most. With that being said, a D97 bowstring, great bowstring material, an endless loop bowstring. I prefer the Flemish twist, but it works really well and it's going to be standard for what you get when you're buying a bow. With all of that being said, what do we give the score on the specs? 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. The poundage is off a little bit. Everything else is basically exactly on of what they said. They left room for themselves, saying the riser is approximately 600 grams, which means there's a variance of difference that they're already expecting in their bow. We're within 100 grams of that, so we're giving this bow a 7. I touched on a few other things that are maybe pet peeves or something you just might want to look out for when buying a bow that I hope is useful for you. But let's go ahead and move on to the next section. This bow gets a 7 out of 10 on its specs. So the snagability test is based upon how quick you can pick up a bow and shoot it and get comfortable with that specific bow. I think we might have made up the word snagability, actually. I'm not sure if it's a real word, but the idea is How hard is it to learn the bow? When you pick it up, does it just feel right? Does it shoot good immediately? Or does it feel weird and you got to do adjustments and you got to figure it out? Or is it hard to learn? It's basically the quickness of learning a bow. So the way I decided to do this for all of these bows is go ahead and pin a target to my normal target. Now I'm gonna keep score of my first 50 shots and see what I score. Now this isn't about how good I can shoot, this is about how good each bow is in relation to the other. And of course this is subjective based upon my opinion, so you may not have the exact same experience, but in the end, after all of these bow reviews, I'll do a video with all 8 bows giving you the results of everything in comparison with each other. Now, how do I tell you how this did in relation to the other bows? What I'll do is I'll give you the average of all the other bows in comparison to this bow. The highest possible score is 500, and with this bow right here we got a 392. Now the average out of all 8 bows I tested was 406. So this is slightly below average, and in reality at the very bottom, because I had a couple good days and great bows that brought that average quite a bit up higher. So this bow is not very good on my snagability test. Again, this is my opinion, but I'm gonna have to give this bow a 4 out of 10 on the snagability test. All right, jumping into the smoothness of this bow. Now smoothness, quietness, and comfortability all kind of go hand in hand. If it's a smoother bow to shoot, it's generally quieter and more comfortable to shoot. So with this bow here, I want to take a quick shot so you can just listen to the noise. One of my least favorite things I like about this bow is this little arrow rest. Just listen to this. I'm serious, it's right here. It's that little arrow rest. So anyway, I really don't like that. So that makes it loud immediately. But when we shoot, often takedown bows are a little louder than non-takedown bows. Plus this one has a lot of metal on it, so just listen to this. Not good at all. A very loud bow. Let me take one more shot for you. So on the smoothness, quietness, comfortableness scale, on a 1 to 10, I have to give this bow a 3 because it's not very comfortable. You'd think it'd be more comfortable with a metal heavy riser, but wrong. It's not a very comfortable bow to shoot at all. On the smoothness scale, I give this bow a 3. Moving on to the speed test, I was trying to think of a good way to do a speed test because we've got different poundages of bows. So what we're gonna do is go 10 grains per pound of draw weight. Meaning, if I have a 45-pound bow, I need a 450 grain arrow. If I have a 30-pound bow, I need a 300 grain arrow. In this case, a 43-pound bow, I need a 430 grain arrow. Now, by switching out arrow points in different arrows, I can get that exact weight. So I shot a 430 grain arrow through a chronograph 5 times, and I took the average, and it averaged out at 180 feet per second. Is the best feature of this bow that I found out so far is that it's fast. It's a fast bow. It's not the most comfortable. The specs aren't exactly right. It's the cheapest bow ever, maybe. Like they said they are selling it at cost because they want to get the word out about this bow. So I don't know if that price is going to stay, and I've reviewed products in the past where as soon as I review it, they jack up the price, especially if I like the product. I don't necessarily like this product, but I'm not going to tell you not to buy it, but I'll recap it in a little bit. But I do want to say the speed. The speed is pretty stinking good for a 43-pound bow. So on the speed test of this TopArchery bow, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. It's above average, it's a fast bow, and that's one of its better qualities for sure. All right, so we have come actually quite a long ways. Let me grab it real quick with this bow and tested a bunch of things out. And the last thing I want to talk about with this bow is the sacrifice it takes to get this bow. Basically the value. Are you getting the value for the money you're spending with this bow? Now, I'll tell you that from a world of custom bows that can sell well over $1,000, an $86 bow, are you kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. At the same time, is this like, do I shoot it and do I get the fizz? No, not at all. Is it fast? Yes. Is it comfortable? No. Can that be improved? Yes, it can be. And I might do that in the future, improving on this bow. But overall, would I tell you to get this bow? No, I wouldn't. I'm reviewing a few bows here in the near future that are just a little bit up higher in price, yet the value more added to it is substantially more. Yeah, because this bow is so cheap, it's like almost impossible not to give it a good score on the value. I'm gonna give this bow an 8 on the value, an 8 out of 10 on the sacrifice. And yes, just forgive me, I wanted to use all S's for whatever reason, but on the sacrifice that it cost you to get this bow, we'll give it an 8 out of 10 because it is so cheap and it shoots fast, and just to have those two things combined is actually pretty special. So in the end, what this means is that the TopArchery Takedown bow aluminum handle gets a 29 out of 50 overall on the shatterproof archery scale. Now, I think I could probably bring that up to a 35 or so with just a few modifications, with a different arrow rest, maybe adding a little extra felt to make the noise lighter, maybe a different bowstring or new serving, things like that. But my goal for this is really that if you are looking for a bow, it gives you information to know whether to buy or not to buy a bow. And I've got 7 more bows reviews coming out probably, well, I'm not gonna promise exactly when they're coming out, but I'm gonna try to get them out in the next couple weeks as fast as I can. I've already got all of them in the works. They're all right down here. And so we're knocking them out as fast as we can. So thanks so much for watching today. You should stay shatterproof in here. I know you got this. So finish the year strong, and I'll see you guys on the next video.